Okay, so I'm going to do this in a somewhat unorthodox way. Most presentations are entirely through the PowerPoint charts. I'm going to do the most dangerous thing in the world and try to do a live demo. Also, the nature. So I was wrestling with how to present this because a file folder and file attachment system within Mediawiki is probably best if you see it in action, and then I can do some charts that talk about it, or some traditional charts. So the name of my talk is Implementing a File Folder and File Attachment System in Mediawiki. I'll start out with a traditional chart here. The template that I'm using is really just a screenshot of a blank page on my personal wiki that I manage outside of NASA. All of the content that I'm going to show you is not work related, so there's no concern of what the information is. So the situation that I find myself facing is all of the users that I would love to convert into wiki users have decades of doing it a different way. And when it comes to storing data, all the people that I work with, they're used to using file folders. And when it comes to sharing data, everyone's pretty much used to adding the file to an attachment, because even if it's a network folder, folder permissions are wildly difficult to manage. It's not easy to know who has access to it. Most of the time people have mapped network drives to local drive letters. It's a total nightmare in trying to share links to files. So people have all just sort of gotten into the habit of just adding it as a file attachment. And so the assumption here is that we want users to switch to the wiki. So my dream is to get all the people that I work with using the wiki as a file storage system so that we can manage it, so we can manage that content to agency standards for access control and traceability, and as also version control. But the problem is that getting people to switch to Mediawiki means that we have to teach them how to upload a file, which sounds pretty simple, but Mediawiki's out-of-the-box upload tool is optimized for creative content environments. And in an enterprise environment, oftentimes people, you're dealing with organizational data, and it's implied that it's organizational data. So copyright stuff, copyright protection, and all of the annotating is really stuff that nobody really wants to be bogged down with. So uploading a file means teaching them the importance of unique naming, because in Mediawiki everything, all the files it's a flat folder structure, which means that if somebody's got a readme.txt file in one project folder and they've got a readme.txt file in another project folder, they can't both be uploaded. So now you've got this challenge where nobody wants to go through the time that it takes to rename or intelligently rename their files with foresight into what makes for an intuitive file name, a unique file name. And that's all because of Mediawiki's flat file structure. The other thing that we have to teach them is how to let go of file organization by way of folder structure. So most people who manage data, and most everyone does in today's organizations, they do so by learning how to make nested folders within folders, and they create their file organization through the process of the folder structure. And when we introduce the wiki to them, the first thing we ask them to do is to let go of that. And that's a really hard sell. So we want them to create pages that link to all of this unique file content. This creates a general reluctance. And I don't know if you guys have experienced this, but I certainly have. That this is the big barrier to getting people to upload their data to the wiki. They have an intense mental investment into their folder structures. People know where their files are, and it only because of the folder structure. If you take that away from them, they don't know how to find their files. Users are strongly conditioned to think in terms of sharing with attachments or embedding. So, you know, they're either attaching a file to an email or they're embedding it into a Word document. This is really what we're up against. If we're ever going to get general users to start using a wiki, we have to meet them where they're at. Just a quick chart that shows, you know, this is it, right? You show these two pictures to an average enterprise user, and they're going to say, yeah, here's my folder structure, and if you want something, I can email it to you, and if you ask me to do anything else, I'm probably going to push back. So the goal of my project has been to develop tools within Mediawiki that provide enterprise users with an intuitive way to easily migrate their existing local and network files without losing the corporate investment into their folder structure, and to easily attach local files to existing pages in the wiki. What I'm going to show you next is really a complex implementation that uses all of the following external extensions. Everything that I'm going to show you is based on Mediawiki 1.31, which is a long-term support version. Semantic Mediawiki, hopefully, if you don't already understand what Semantic Mediawiki is, the rest of this is going to be just look like magic to you. Semantic Extra Special Properties is an extension that makes basic page properties, like who created it, when it was last updated, makes those things semantically queryable. Semantic Results Formats lets you pre-format the results of your queries into wonderfully diverse and useful ways. And then this is the secret sauce right here. There is an extension called Simple Batch Upload, and I'll show you how it works. But as a preview, there was a modification. Somebody forked this this repository in GitHub, and they created a customized version of it that allows you to rename files upon upload. And that's what makes this whole thing work. In addition to that, I use the Numer Alpha extension, which allows me to create counters within pages. Subpage fun and subpage list are essential. We're going to be carving up, we're going to be using subpages, and we're going to be carving them up and getting the base name, the top level name, and count the number of levels in. Media functions is an extension that analyzes an uploaded file and reports back on how large it is, what the file size is, what the type is. Everything you could want to know about files is then made available as parser functions through Media Functions extension. A lot of custom CSS. The multimedia viewer is a nice tool that lets you create a gallery. So when you have a folder filled with images, you can actually look at it as a really nice image gallery. And My Variables gives me information like who the current user is. I think that's the only thing I'm using there. The Variables extension allows you to create variables within a page, just like any other good programming language. Page forms is crucial. Arrays is crucial, and then header tabs is crucial, because this allows you to create universal content at the top and the bottom, headers and footers, for all pages within a given namespace. If I've missed any, I apologize. There probably are additional extensions that I'm taking for granted, but let's move on here. So the actual tool itself, once you have a wiki with all of the required extensions installed, all the things that I just showed in the previous chart, then the file management tools that I'm gonna live demo for you can be added to your wiki by simply importing a collection of category pages, form pages, templates, properties, general Mediawiki, and some main pages. So in the categories, there's basically two. For every file that gets uploaded, it gets added to an upload category. And for every file folder that gets created, it gets a file folder page gets added to a file folder category. Now, what I'm doing is I'm using categories, forms, and templates together in what Mediawiki calls a class. So if you have if you have page forms installed and you go to your special pages, you'll see a special page for creating a class. And all I did was use that to create the file folder class and the upload class. Beyond that, I've created almost 100 different properties that funnel information about files and file folders back and forth between the files and the file folder pages. And then just, some high-level site-wide customization on CSS using the custom header. And I have a Mediawiki page called Site Prefix, which I'll explain here shortly, and a custom sidebar. So without further ado, let me take this big risk and show you what my wiki looks like. I have this is a brand new wiki that I deployed yesterday. For the most part, it is extremely bland. The reason it doesn't look like Vector or a standard Wikipedia page is that I'm using a skin called MetroLook. And I find that MetroLook is very good out of the box with tablets and various small screens. So when my users are accessing my site from their phones or from their tablets or from their jumbo screens on their desktops, it scales really well. This is the main page, and if I edit the source, you can see it's completely empty. And what I want to do, I want to cheat here and grab this link. There's a page called Mediawiki HFNS header, and if I visit that page and I edit it, and I want to add a template, and this has attachments template is what I'm going to place into the header page. And when I save it, you can see that I've pretty much got this little banner across the top, and it has an expand option. It's a collapsible element, and it will count the attachments. So now when I go back to my main page, the main page has this collapsible top banner with the opportunity to add attachments. Now, what I don't want to do is actually add an attachment to the main page. So what I'm going to do is edit the main page, and notice that it's completely blank still. So the fact that I have this attachment tool is not part of the editable content. It's there because it's part of the main page namespace banner. So I want to come up here and add the magic word that, because the main page is special, now it's just as it was before. So I can click on edit for visual editor, and I can type some text. I can save my page, and it's just like you would see in any normal wiki. If I go back and I eliminate the header or the magic word there, I get my attachments again. So now I can expand this, and this is a form link. It's going to take me to a form that I've written called Has Attachments. And I can use the simple batch upload button, and I can grab all three of these files, and it just it uses a JavaScript front end to upload them for me. So now when I go back to the main page, right, if I hit the edit source, I still don't have any files to deal with. But when I expand the attachment header, I have 3 files attached. It tells me when they were uploaded, who uploaded them, what the file was, what the file is in the wiki. If they were images, then they would be thumbnails in here. But since these are, I don't have, if this is a PowerPoint and this is a text document, these don't have thumbnails. And then I've also added it so you create the wiki text that a user might be interested in to link to the file, to put a thumbnail in, or directly link the content. So for example, if I copy this and then I collapse and I edit, using the file within the page is as simple as this. And so now you can see how I did that, right? And so whether or not the attachment is used within the page is irrelevant. This just lets me pile files that might be valuable to this. Now, if I can also come over here and quickly delete these. And now there's just two, and I can delete this one. And delete it again. Okay, and so now you can see that my reference within my article has become a red link. So I can edit this and, okay, so that's the attachment tool. And so the idea then is that I can come in here and create some new page. All right, so, and that doesn't exist, but as soon as I create any content at all, because it's in the main namespace, it automatically gets this attachment tool. So I'm going to talk a little bit about using I have to cheat. There it is. So this is a page that I put together that shows how to use simple batch upload. So it's basically a parser function called batch upload, and there's some options. And so the basic way that you add this into a template or a form, and you get this little widget here that opens up a dialog box and invites you to upload files. Then the basic implementation with a template says that if you add some options here for template name and some property values, then you can write something like this, which would create this tool that lets me upload multiple files at one time. And when I do so, it will automatically create their wiki text article with the item doc template with these values, so you can use them. So you can sort of pre-populate the template that is associated with the files. And then this is the main upgrade, basic implementation with template and using the rename feature. So a wonderful user who I only know by their username added this capability right here, which lets you use a regular expression to rename to rename the file when it gets uploaded. Now this lets you do a variety of things. This lets you force the name. You can say anything that I upload is always going to be named exactly what I want it to be called. So you can coerce files as they're being uploaded into the names that you want, and you can append or suffix the files as they get uploaded. I've chosen to prepend. And so then what I'm doing here in my, so that's, okay, so then when we go back to the main page and we look at, we add some attachments, and I'm actually gonna go up a folder here and I'll give you a preview of some of the fun stuff that I thought would be nice to share. I've just uploaded 2 files. Now notice the arrow here in the middle. So the local file on my system was called Coronavirus Evacuation Plan. But when it got uploaded into the system, it got renamed as EMW File 61, coronavirus evacuation plan, and then this one is Sisyphus. And in each case, there's a prefix and a page ID. So when I go back and I look at my main page attachments, you can see that the only thing that the wiki did when I uploaded them was it prepended them with this. And that is done in order to guarantee that, let me see if I have a good note here. In order to avoid duplicate file names with attachments on other pages, all files uploaded here will be given the prefix EMW file 61. So EMW file is the site name for the wiki, and 61 is the page ID of the main page. So with that said, it now has the ability to, I can upload endless files, and it follows the same limits of what you can do in a traditional network file folder. I can upload anything I want, and if I try to re-upload them again, it appropriately gives me errors. And if you look at it, it says that the upload is an exact duplicate of the current version. And so it will automatically deny a duplication. And so that means that if I wanted to update this, I would have to go to, say, the file itself. Let's say I wanted a new version of that. I would have to use the upload a new version of this file. So it forces users to either delete old versions or to go through this process of visiting the actual file page in order to do the update. But in terms of getting the basic files in there, it's as easy as dropping them into the simple batch upload button. So that's attachments. And I didn't expect to spend as much time talking about that, so let me try to rapidly go through the file folder system. So for example, if I wanted to upload these files, let's say I'm interested in the Nighthawks, the famous Nighthawks painting. And if I look at this, it's a famous painting that everyone has seen before, and some people might even have it hanging in their home. If I collect these kinds of files on my system, again, I'm trying really hard to avoid using work-related files or anything too personal. I may have the original in an original folder, but then, you know, because I'm kind of nerdy, I've also found all these kind of kitsch revisions of the Nighthawks that I think are fun to collect. And so this is the way I've organized these things. So the first thing I would want to do, going back to my folder structure, is add a subpage called Nighthawks. And there I am, files/Nighthawks. And I want to add a subpage called original. And to that, I want to add this guy. And let me refresh that. So now I've got in the original folder, files Nighthawks original, I've got the file uploaded and the information like I would want to see from a standard directory listing. And then there's an automatic gallery at the bottom. I go up a level and I want to add, let's see, I forget how I listed this. So there's that, I think it's the template, okay. So I want to add one called the template, which is it's not a reference to Mediawiki. This is a reference to the idea that if you wanted to make your own Nighthawks meme, you would want the one that has everybody cut out so you could Photoshop your own people into it. So we'll go back up. So now in the Nighthawks folder, I've got the original and the template, which lo and behold is perfectly mirroring my local file system. So now these guys are sitting here in the Nighthawks folder. So for that, I can just come below here and I can select them all at once and hit open and sit back and watch them all get reloaded and then refresh the page. And so there's a directory listing with the information that I would want. And here's a gallery that lets me step through them in a beautiful wiki, in the wiki way. So I get my automatic image gallery, I get my file structure, it's keeping track of the sizes of the files, their types, all of this is semantically queryable elsewhere. I could go on, but that's probably enough for now. So let me back, I'm gonna take one moment here because the system doesn't work fast enough. It does rely on, this is keeping track of the file sizes. And if we waited 5 or so minutes, it would automatically update. So when the jobs run, so if you're a Mediawiki administrator, you are familiar with the idea that there's a jobs queue that runs in the background. And so if we waited 3 or 5 minutes and the job queue runs, then everything would be up to date. This column would tell me exactly how much total data I have in the Nighthawks folder, and it would tell me how many subfolders exist within there. So for example, folder 1 has 2 subpages and is a total of 0.05 kilobytes. And if we look in there, I invited Brian Hildebrand to test out the system, and he uploaded a file called Brian Was Here. So that's, let me go back to my PowerPoint presentation. So this brings me to, once implemented, most users should be readily able to adopt the wiki as a simple file management system that allows them to recreate their local file system structures and attach files to the pages that are created for them. So this is my approach. This is my approach to meeting users, meeting legacy enterprise users where they're at today. They're sitting on the files and folders in their desktops and on their computers. They're sitting on tons of information that we would love to institutionalize in the wiki, and they won't do it because it takes a lot of time to overcome the unique file naming, and it also means they would have to let go of their folder structures, which they've worked for years to implement very carefully, and this system allows them to keep all that. So I'll end there and take questions.
Wow, that was awesome. Very nice. I'm going to take the liberty as program chair to ask the first question. And so simple batch upload is the part that allows you to upload a group of files. I missed the part about the part that allows you to create the file structure using subpages. Is that just a configuration? How did you do that? Was that another extension, or that was just implemented inside your?
Yep. Template? So I've got a category page, a form, and a file folder. Let me walk through that real fast.
Oh, so the form. That's by the form. Gotcha.
Yeah. So let me walk through that real fast because I did race through it pretty quick. So if I go to folder 1, this is a page in the file folder category. And you can see I've made the edit with form pink to draw attention to it for users that don't know. And this is what, when you edit it, what it looks like. And So it's basically just a class that I created. So now with the header text and the footer text, it allows users to annotate what the folder is for. So if I wanted to, I could go to my files and I could say the Nighthawks. I can copy the files /Nighthawks, go back to my folder list, go to folder 1, and I can edit folder 1 with form and say down here, if you're so the idea is that this sort of works like in Linux or Unix, there's the whole semaphore notion. This allows me to have a folder called folder 1 with unique content, but it allows me to invite users to jump to other content that they might be looking for if they happen to have found their way here. So you can annotate the headers and footers of the file folder page as part of the form. So if I'm creating a new subfolder, right? So this page right here, files, happens to be in the file folder category, which means that if I edit it with form, if I go to the file folder category, I can see this category uses the form file folder and the template file folder. And so it always invites me to go back to the root. So because the page files is in the file folder category, it's edited with the file folder form. Now this is blocked out. There's nothing I can do here, but I have a form link parser function that allows me to add a new subpage. This is part of the file folder template. So if I click on add a new subpage, it grabbed files. Well, actually, let's create a file folder subpage in Nighthawks original, and then we'll add a subpage here. Notice files Nighthawks original is the base page. And so then it invites me to create, it invites me to populate this field as the new subfolder subpage. So I can say ABC, XYZ, save that. And now it created a page called some new nested folder name. It created it as a subpage of files Nighthawks original, which gives me my breadcrumbs to get back up the chain. And it automatically includes the ability to create yet another nested file folder page, as well as I can drop files in here as well. So did I answer your question?
Almost. What I was wondering was, so that under file folder header text, wait, no, stop moving.
Okay.
Okay. So file folder header text, underneath that, under ABC, it's got the little file icon. It says some new nested folder name, and underneath that says add a subpage. What's actually rendering that?
Okay. It's a
and we're running out of time, so we can always call.
So this is a parser function called
coming
formula.
from.
Yep. And
that's from. Okay, it's from formula.
Yep. And so what it allows me to do, if I wanted to, form link is the parser function, and I can say that the form would be.
So that comes from page forms. I've just never seen that particular visualization from page forms before.
And the target would be.
Cool.
So I think you get it from here, right?
Yeah, excellent. Awesome.
Yeah. So that's what creates that gray button. It's a little, the actual code is a little more sophisticated, But that's, yeah, so that's, the goal is
Okay.
to give people the ability to create subfolders within pages, and to drop files, as many files as they want, into wherever you're at in the folder hierarchy. And at the end, like if you go to, let's see, go to Nighthawks, go to the about for, let's not do that one. And if I come down here to the uploads, so now, yeah, and unfortunately, this is where, for some reason, on this new wiki that I just created last night, files aren't being added to the categories properly.
All right. So we do have two more questions, and we are starting to run over. I was so proud of myself that we were only 8 minutes over time. So
right.
I'll go to the last two questions from Megan. We'll start with Megan.
Oh, okay. So I just want to say this is like the coolest thing ever. I totally love this. This is awesome, and I really like the fact that you used page ID instead of page name for it. I was like really confused how you were going to deal with page moves, and so originally I was going to ask about that, but just using page ID is like perfect. So that's really cool too. I just had a small suggestion. Instead of doing the whole file name, did you ever consider doing like wrap the file embed syntax in a template, and so do like attached file with the user's file name?
Say that again, please.
Okay, so when you have the attached files on the page, and then you have the strings that they can copy, that's like that seems like confusing to them. Is that the only place? Is that the only place in the entire interface where they would see the prefix EMW file 6?
I mean, currently, so this is all completely editable, right? I mean, all I'm doing is making templates.
I'm wondering if you could hide that prefix from the user altogether so that you don't even have to explain about the unique file name thing by not, so like doing a replacement in the name of the file on the left side, and then there, instead of having like file EMW file 61, do you like
I would love to.
Attached image as the template name, and the attached image grabs the site name plus the page ID and fills that in for the user, so they just see attached file pipe.
Yeah,
this.
I'm with you. It's not possible without developing a new extension. So currently, if I go to, say, the main page and I edit it, and I go to insert media, if I type file, as soon as I hit, I don't know why isn't that working. Huh.
Visual editor sucks.
Right. So this is where what I've been doing since I created this wiki last night, because I haven't been able to solve the problem of pages not showing up in categories properly, is I run refresh links in the maintenance. So for some reason, this particular wiki has a glitch where it's not finding things as quickly as it should. Let me see if I try to add the link. No. All right, so crash and burn on that one. So your basic question was, is it possible to hide the prefix from the user altogether? I struggled with that. I wanted to really badly. But at the end of the day, people are going to get their files back to them, and they're going to have the prefix. So the downside to this is that you wouldn't use it as like a source code repository, because it would prefix all your source code files with something that guarantees their uniqueness in a flat file system. But most people, in my experience, they'll receive a document by email, they'll save it locally, they'll do a save as, and they'll attach their initials and the date, and you can get these really ugly, long file names that people have crafted in order to put some intuitive context into when it was created, when it was updated, and who last edited it. And I am hoping to get away from all of that.
Okay, and final question of the day from Bernard.
Oh, yeah. Well, thank you for this. I'm also super impressed. But it keeps me a little bit wondering about the application of this, because up to I don't know, I think 30 minutes ago, I was convinced that I tell people in organizations, if you want to do document management, you have to do a document management system. If you want to manage content in a wiki, you should not think of documents, but think of the content that you would put in usually Word documents and manage this with a wiki. So, and I've actually seen, I agree with you that from a personal perspective, people are used to working with these folders and the attachments. But from an organizational point of view, I've actually seen wikis evolve because people were frustrated with their folders and they couldn't find anything anymore. So they started with a wiki. So my question is, I would not want in my organization a copy of my network shares because people would now be going crazy of creating those network folders and uploading everything to the wiki, having it doubled all the network shares. So this can be only a transitional process where I say, okay, we have this network share, we want to get rid of it. It's going to be switched off by the end of the month, something like that. Mm-hmm. Or what is your opinion on this?
So I'm dealing with the reality that most people are living out of their Office documents. They will they use PowerPoint, Microsoft Word, and Excel, and to me, getting them to go to the wiki for their files, for the official version of their files. I'm actually not advocating that we do away with network file folders altogether, because I think as a working a work area for editing and quickly getting things and making quick updates, I don't want to compete with that. So I try to draw a distinction between working files and data at rest. So when a document is finished and they want it to go somewhere for distribution, that's the kind of version of a file that I want them to upload to the wiki. So I would expect that while they're working, while they're developing some new document, they would keep it locally or on a network share. And then when they're finished and they're ready to provide it to the organization for long-term retention, that's when I would want them to use this. And we have decades of folder structures. And so from my perspective, there's no way to get to the future state where people are developing content and adding files intelligently. There's no way to get there. You have to give them a way that they can carve out a small file space in the wiki and upload their stuff. And then once you've done that, you can begin an initiative to search for file duplicates, find the largest files. You know, one of the nice things about this system, if you're still looking at the screen that I'm sharing, is that it provides this, you know, the size of the files is now semantically queryable. So I can do queries to find out which files are consuming the most space on my system, and which ones have the most duplicates, which folders, all of this, you know, I apologize that the size here isn't being reflected in real time, but when it does function that way, then even the folder itself, these are the individual file sizes, but the wiki then reports the size of the file folder. And you can really do some intelligent file pruning. And once you get people to upload their data, then you can have wiki curators moving stuff intelligently to where it belongs and creating the more orthodox wiki content, but you need some kind of a bridge between, you know, on one side of the chasm, you have people keeping their files locally and you have no insight into that. On the other side of the chasm, you have well-crafted wiki articles that link all the official pages, but all the official files, but the only way you have access to those official files is if you can get them in the first place. So this is meant to be a halfway point. You know, if the users will adopt this and start putting their data here, then the wiki content creators will have access in the wiki to all the files, and then they can rename things, they can move them, and I think we can then grow the wiki content the way we know it should be done. I apologize if that was a rambling answer.
No, it was fine. It's great. I hope you can share this with us so that we can try it out on our wikis.
That is my hope. And so if there's interest, I would like to provide an XML file, which represents an XML export of all the pages that are needed. But I will warn you that I will also include information on all of the extensions that I have loaded and how I have them configured. Some of them are a little tricky to get them right.
Awesome. Well, Rich, thank you
Awesome.
very much. That's super cool. And hopefully, maybe during the Creek Camp, we could even talk a little bit more about take a look at some of the stuff under the covers. That would be awesome.
I would be
so.
happy.